So for today's tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about fusible fleece. There are all different types of stabilizers and they do different things. They're not all for home interior projects. Some are for collars if you're doing shirts. Some go inside of purse linings. So there's different types of stabilizers for different projects. We're primarily going to be using fusible fleece, and we may at some point, if I continue with the series, we may get into a type of stabilizer that we use for hard cornices to give it a real stiff appearance. But not to worry, we're only going to be using fusible fleece for the time being. It's very soft, and as a matter of fact, this one is considered a low loft, and they really feel the same. What you'll notice is that when we get ready to do this demo, one has like a tacky side to it and the other side is super soft. So I'm going to cut it down to size to show you how it's going to stabilize this designer's fabric right here. Okay? So what I'm going to demonstrate to you is what you would be doing if you had cut your 20 by 20 piece for your pillow project. I'm just going to make it smaller so that you can see what's going on in front of the camera. Against the sticky, so when that heat goes through, it's going to fuse it to your fabric. And I'm not going to get fancy with it. I'm just going to remove my microphone so I don't cut it, and then make sure that it's out the way. So I'm going to demo it with the fusible fleece, which is the soft fleece that we will use with our pillow project, and just cut it out with the shape of it. It's on the, you see the reverse side of that. All right, and because I want to make this into one video addressing different types of stabilizers, I'm going to go ahead and use the what is called the 71F, which is the ultra firm one-sided fusible. And again, this is what we would use for a cornice, a hard type of cornice. It's a soft cornice, but it's going to stabilize it. And the one that I just cut out for the pillow is the fusible fleece, and it is 987 fusible fleece. And as you can see, it has the instructions here. And so if you want to write that down, I'm hoping that you can see that 987F fusible fleece, a Pellon product, which most of these are, all of these are, as a matter of fact. But I want to go ahead and show you the 71F, which is the ultra firm as well. So I'm going to roll that off, and you can see it's really stiff. You can almost kind of predict how this is going to turn out. I'm going to go ahead and cut off a little bit. And again, we're going to put the right side up of that fabric and cover it. And if you're funny about scissors, meaning you don't want your scissors, and if you have this thing about what you will allow your scissors to touch, for example, when I'm doing my sewing projects, I have scissors that I never allow to go upstairs because they will get used for the wrong things. All right, so here it is. I don't want you to go out and buy a bunch of fancy stuff for your sewing projects. Just use your basic scissors that we pick out at the supply store. But if you feel a certain type of way about certain materials and certain chemicals touching your scissors, you can get a fresh pair for just cutting fabric, and then have a different color pair for cutting stuff that has like it could have a sticky residue on it. Otherwise, just wipe it off and keep it moving. Same thing about your iron. I'm using an iron that I do not care about for my sewing projects. It gets pretty hot, and my daughter does sewing projects as well. So it's one that if it falls or something, I'm not going to freak out about it. All right, so we're going to do exactly what these instructions tell us to do, which means I've got to put some water in this iron so that we can get some steam going. So by following the directions, we're going to need some steam. So make sure that you are familiar with your equipment and so I have it on the highest setting, and it doesn't take long for my iron to steam up. So according to the directions, we added some water and we turned our iron up to get a good steam, because that's going to be important. I just have a basic piece of lining here, and I'm going to thin it out a little bit because I want the steam to work its way through this cloth so that it gives the fusion with the chemical or the glue opportunity to fuse to the fabric. I'm not using my fabric yet, but the cloth that I'm using to cover this, I'm giving it a good dose of steam so that it can be somewhat damp. And then this is going to cover. All right, so now that I have taken my cloth that I'm using for this project, I'm going to lay this over the right side up fabric against the fusible fleece, and you'll see how this steam is going to activate and fuse to the fabric. And depending on the fabric that you're using, make sure you do a test similar to what I'm doing with a small piece of fabric, because if you're using something expensive, you can ruin it, you can melt it. So just be sure that you do that. And that steam should activate the glue and fuse to the back of the material. So I have my lining here as my protector that I covered the fabric with. And just pull it a little bit. Okay, and then that protects your, couple things that it's going to do. It's going to protect your iron from getting any type of chemical on it, and it'll also give a layer of protection to your fabric. See how it's fused, it's attached, and it's nice and soft. For the first pillow that we're going to be doing, it's going to be a 20 by 20. When we get ready to install the zipper for our next pillow, we're going to do a 20 by 21 cut. So for the first pillow, it's the same size. This is not 20 by 20, okay? This is just a sample so that I can show you how the different types of stabilizers work. We went ahead and did the stabilizer for the fusible fleece that we'll be doing for the pillow project. And so the next one we're going to demo is one that's a little bit stiffer. And this type of stabilizer is used for projects where you might be doing a soft cornice, but you want it to be stiff when it's installed on your window. So I wanted to just go ahead and show you the two types of stabilizers that we're most likely going to be using. And we're going to do it similarly to how we did it for the stabilizer for the pillow using the fusible fleece. We're going to do the same thing for, and I'm going to cut a little bit extra off because I don't want that to get stuck onto my iron. So I want to be careful about that cut. And just cut a little bit more off. This is just a sample, and we don't want that to ruin our iron. And back and forth. Silk, you may be surprised what happens to that fabric. It can singe because it is a natural material. So we're going to talk a little bit more about those type of of fabric selections for our projects. So as you can see, this is really stiff. Look how stiff that is. That's what the stabilizer products do. So again, we're using the fusible fleece for our pillow project.